Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The next one is titled, I Don't Work Here. Oh, do you want to? Years ago as a teen, I worked at a pet store that had dark forest green polos for their uniform. The grocery store across from my apartment complex also had dark forest green polos for their uniforms. As that's where I shopped, I got a lot of people asking me for help. To be fair, while our logo was huge across our backs, it was tiny on the front, so I often got approached from the front or side by people asking for assistance. I knew the store pretty well, so most of the time I would just point them either right direction or help them get an item of a high shelf. My previous job had been at a different grocery store, so I would even occasionally help bag groceries for people if the line was long and I was impatient. They always seemed to have a lack of baggage clerks anyway. One day I was only buying soda and an older lady had a full cart in front of me. This was way before self-checkouts and no express lines were open. So I put my soda on that little pull-out thing registers have and started bagging this woman's like 100 plus items. I chit-chatted with both the cashier and the lady for a bit while I worked. Finally I got everything in her cart and asked if she needed help out. She said no, her husband was waiting outside and would help her load it. I told her to have a great day. At this point a woman walks up in store uniform. She smiles at me as the cashier starts to ring me up. Hi, can't remember her name, so let's call her Mary. That was some really good customer service. Oh. Thanks. I don't think too much of it as the cashier tells me my total. I pull out my wallet to pay. You're off work? She asks, eyebrows raised. Oh yeah, just going home. Wow. What's your name? I tell her. That's fantastic. Even helping our customers even after your shift has ended. Light bulb slowly starts to come on in my head. I haven't gotten a chance to meet all of our employees yet, but if they're anything like you, this is going to be a great store to work at. Turns out Mary was a transferred supervisor from another store and was trying to meet all the employees. I laughed, not in a mean way, just was surprised. I pointed to the small logo on my shirt. She started to turn a little red. Not much but a hair. I apologized for the confusion, and just told her that I don't mind helping out when I can. Well, you're not by chance looking to change jobs, are you? I could really use people like you here. I declined as I liked my job and I was reasonably sure it paid better. But for the next year and a half until I moved and changed stores, anytime Mary saw me she would always say hi and ask if I'd changed her mind on her offer. The next one is titled, Really? Again? Today I was in Home Depot buying more plants for my insane plant collection. I'm holding two in a pot, crouched down raking the label on a plant to see its country of origin. Azaleas. I keep looking at my plant. Azaleas. Keep looking, then a shadow blocks my light. I look up, there's a middle-aged white dude looking down at me. Azaleas, he says again. After my last post on here about this rude bullpoop way customers have of asking for something, I thought about how I would handle this if it ever happened again. Ain't you trying to ask me a question? I reply. Yes, I asked you where the azaleas are. I don't think you understand how questions work. Just saying a word at someone is not a question. It's rude and demeaning, and I don't work here, you jag. He actually apologized. Then I walked away. It felt freaking amazing. The next one is titled, I'm 4 years old. What's your excuse? I mentioned part of this story in a comment and people asked for the full story, so here it is. Little background, since I became an adult and stopped working retail, I get an IDontWorkHereLady almost every month. My wife says it's something on my face. This is the first time one of my kids was present. Also, for the place that happened. In my country, we have small shops that sell fresh products, mainly vegetables. On to the story. This happened in August. We live in a coastal city, walking distance from the beach. We both had 2 weeks off from work and spent every day at the beach with the kids. We usually go early in the morning and stay until noon and then maybe go back in the evening. That day my wife had left early with our oldest to prep lunch and I stayed behind with our 4-year-old daughter. As we were preparing to leave, my wife called to tell me to pick some fresh vegetables we had ran out. The grocery store was on our way home, so it was okay. So we stop at the store, I exchange pleasantries with the owner, an old classmate of mine, and stay outside looking for what we need, while my daughter entered the store to talk with the owner's son, same age, same preschool. The owner has 2 customers inside the store. Next to me is a lovely old lady that asks if I can help put some of her groceries in her cart, especially 2 5-kilogram bags of potatoes. I see no reason not to and I put them in the cart. She ranks me, half in my language half in Russian. I replied in kind, I understand some of the language because some relatives of my grandma were from there and picked up some of language when I was growing up. She smiles and waves goodbye and I return to my browsing. And the Karen emerges. I want 3 kilograms of onions, 4 kilograms of potatoes and 3 kilograms of tomatoes. And be fast about it. I'm in a hurry. I turned around to see a middle-aged woman in a sundress, sunglasses, big hat, stereotypical Karen haircut, with her arms crossed in front of her and tapping her foot. Because the store is self-service and I'm wearing swim trunks, an old t-shirt, flip-flops, I'm having my beach towel draped on my shoulder and carrying a ridiculously huge beach bag, I give her no mind and return to my shopping. Big mistake. Karen decides to break social distancing and grabs me by the shoulder. I gave you an order, boy. I'm 40 yo by the way, now do it or I'll get you fired. I don't work here, I reply and take a step backwards. Don't give me that BS. I saw you helping that other woman. She kindly asked for my help to move the bags. I still don't work here. So you only help your compatriots, you little s***t? What a disgrace, and goes on a very racist rant, cursing every other word. At some point, we had gathered spectators. The owner had come out, along with the kids. And my daughter decides to come to my rescue. My daughter doesn't like people fighting and finds creative ways to break them. Why are you screaming at my father? He already told you he doesn't work here. My daughter chips in when Karen stopped for breath. Because he doesn't know his place. Now go away. Karen replies and starts to continue her rant. The owner is about to step in, when my daughter turns around, drops her bikini bottom, moons her and blow a raspberry. The Karen is momentarily stunned. That's rude, she manages to say. Well, I'm 4. What's your excuse? My daughter replies, fixing her bottoms. At that point everybody, except Karen, starts laughing. Karen is doing her best imitation of a fish, her mouth opening and closing with no sound coming out. At that point, the owner steps in and tells her to leave and that her business is not welcome there. The rest of us have a good laugh, we pick our groceries and go home. For the rest of our vacation, my daughter would accompany me to the store and she was always scanning the customers with a hand clasped on the side of her bikini bottoms. The next one is titled, Just Because You Paid Me Doesn't Mean I Work For You, a bit of necessary background. This happened in 2003. I work in the insurance industry in a not very well-known profession having to do with audits. I got my start working for a small company created by my uncle and I was with him for about 10 years. My uncle then decided it was time for him to build his dream home and move, which meant either I had to take over the company or find a new job. I didn't want to spend half my day chasing down invoices, so I elected to start a job search and he agreed to give me some time to find a position before he shut things down. There are 2 types of positions in my field where you either work for a vendor, which is an independent service provider, or directly for an insurance company. Openings at insurance companies don't come around that often and vendors don't really have the greatest of reputations, so they're basically employers of last resort. That ends the background and now my story. Over the course of about 3 weeks I applied for 2 positions at different insurance companies and was quickly notified I didn't get one job. The second kept saying we'll get back to you. Not wanting to hold my uncle up, I bit the bullet and went and applied at the largest vendor in the country. The day of my interview I met with the on-site manager, a lovely lady who seemed to be in a bit over her head. It just so happened that her boss, the district manager, and then his boss, the regional manager, were also in the office that day and sat in on the interview. It went well, I filled out paperwork, we shook hands and I left. Did not hear anything from them for about a week. In that week I finally got a call back from the other insurance company, which at the time happened to be the biggest one in the world, known by 3 initials. They offer me a position, go over details, set a start date, and I accept. The following Monday my phone rings at about 10 a.m. I answer, and it is the lady that I had the interview with at the vendor, who I now refer to as Vendor Lady or VL. VL. Hi, we were expecting you in this morning, is there a problem? Me. Pardon? VL. Today was supposed to be your first day and we thought you would be here at 9 o'clock. Me. Why would you think that? VL. That's what our records show me. With absolutely no irony whatsoever, I don't work for you, lady. I never heard from you guys after the interview period. No one called to offer me a position or discuss salary, much less of start date. VL. Stammering a bit, oh, I had no idea, I'll take care of it and sorry about that. Me. Thanks and have a good day, I guess. That's not the end of the story. Period. The following Wednesday, which is typically payday for the job that I had, I go into my bank account and see that there is an automatic deposit from the vendor. I stare at my screen for probably a good 5 minutes trying to puzzle out what in the actual hell is going on. Then I realize I'm going to have to call VL. Me. Hi VL, you might remember me from the mix-up where you thought I was supposed to work for you but I don't. Why did I receive a paycheck from your company? VL. That doesn't sound right, let me check. She places me on hold for a few minutes and then comes back and says, well, it looks like since you filled out all of the required paperwork during the interview with your application, you were accidentally placed on payroll as well. What you can do though is just write us a check for the payroll amount and that should take care of it. Me. Struggling to comprehend how truly stupid this whole situation is, replies, listen VL, I review payroll records for a living, so I'm very aware that you can simply have your payroll department reverse the paycheck, which will basically zero out any payroll taxes that you paid as well as any that were withheld from the paycheck, as well as reclaiming the small amount placed into my bank account. So no, I will not be writing you a check and be paying you to not work for you. The week after that I start work at the big insurance company, and ironically within 6 months both the district manager comes aboard as a co-worker of mine and then the regional manager comes aboard in a department related to mine. No clue what happened to VL, but good luck to anyone working for her. Edit. Thanks for all the support and I'll try and answer some of the most common questions. It wasn't a scam. That vendor company is still around to this day, is still the employer of last resort, and sadly is still the biggest independent service supplier for my industry. I filled out all of the paperwork required for direct deposit because I was told it was necessary to streamline the hiring process. I definitely did not supply them with a voided check. Also, they did reverse the direct deposit and I never heard from VL again, but I would get periodic emails over the next few years to see if I was interested in doing some work for them. Lastly, the large insurance company that I ended up working for was indeed run by Hank Greenberg, and I left them after 2 years for a better position about a year and a half before the big crash. The next one is titled, I just like dressing nicely, no I don't work here. So there's a nice country shop near me, 26F, it sells all sorts of nice shirts and everyday stuff as well as high-end country brands and coats, etc. It was my day off and payday, so I wanted to go and treat myself. So I decided to dress up nicely in a pale blue shirt and some jeans with some boot heels, coincidentally a brand they stocked. I felt pretty good. Notably, the shop doesn't have a uniform, the staff have to wear on-brand clothing and are always greeting you and stuff, so they're obvious. Now previously I've worked in retail. So I feel for the staff when they shop looks like it's been ransacked and people just ruin all the neat folds and throw coats back wherever. So there I was minding my own business trying on a jacket. Decided I need another size. So I zipped up the one I'd just tried and put it back on the rail. Then some angry Karen is stood there like right over my shoulder like personal space isn't a thing. Me, oh sorry. Were you wanting to look at these? Karen, no. I've been stood here trying to get your attention the last 5 minutes. I need this in another size. Can't believe how rude the staff is here. You can see I'm stood here holding the jacket. I just assumed this lady was shopping and had the jacket in hand cause she wanted to buy it, did not get a vibe at all. Me, oh sorry. No I don't work. Karen, I mean preferably I'd like it in a navy if you have it. Asterisk thrusts jacket towards me, look. I do not work here. You can practically see the cogs turning at this point. Rather than apologizing she goes on a tirade. Karen, well, why are you dressed like you work here? Me, excuse me? Literally, we are in a clothes shop. There is no uniform. I'm not wearing a badge? Karen, well, it's just plain misleading. It's so inconsiderate. By this point, a retail assistant walks over, all smiles, and asks can she help with any sizes or anything. Karen points at me. Karen, does she work here? Me, visible WTF rah, no sorry? Karen, then why is she dressed like she does? Both me and the assistant were just lost for words. I gave her a few stern words after she then started dropping F-bombs at the employee. The girl was on the brink of tears. Karen stormed out saying she was going to leave a terrible review. I apologized on behalf of Karen and for losing them her custom. Retail assistant reappeared with the manager 2 minutes later, who laughed and praised me for handling it diplomatically. Offered me a 10% goodwill discount on anything I chose, as well as a job. I've worked there for 2 years now. Never saw Karen again. The next one is titled, My Son Sets Him Straight That I Don't Work Here. My first time posting here, but I love reading the stories. I've been working in retail for 15 years and thought it was time to share a story of two. This story happened when my son, who's 15 now, was almost 3. Even after all this time, it is definitely a story sticks out in my mind. I used to work at Staples until they closed my store 6 years ago. It was Friday, payday, and my husband and son picked me up after work to go grocery shopping. Silly me, I was still wearing my uniform, a red polo shirt and black pants. My family and I went to Walmart. After hitting the aisles for the things on our list, we went to the toy department. My husband needed to use the restroom and I took our son to look at Thomas the Tank Engine toys. He was obsessed with Thomas at this age. My son was still small enough to sit in a shopping cart, which was full of groceries. My son and I were minding our own business, looking at trains, when the lost Walmart customer approaches me. Lost customer, excuse me? Me, yes? Mind you, I hadn't been off work very long, and still in customer service mode. Lost customer, do you know where the kites are? Me, oh, I don't know, I don't work here. I replied to him, confused why he was asking me. Before he could say more, my son chimed in. My son, yeah. My mommy works at Staples. The man looked at my son and me again. Then his face turned about as red as my Staples shirt when it clicked on his head that I wasn't a Walmart employee, just a mother shopping with her kid. Lost customer, oh, sorry. He mumbled as he quickly left us alone to look back at the Thomas trains. My husband rejoined us soon after and we had a good laugh about it. Perhaps the lost customer was just used to seeing me work at Staples and got confused where he was, lol. After all, I do live in a small town. Sorry, it was nothing super exciting with a Karen. Although my family still gets a good laugh at how my son set that man straight. I wonder if he ever found his kite. The next one is titled, IDontWorkHereLady Encounter Turns Creepy. Been lurking for a little while now, but I figured it was time to share one of my experiences. With 27 years working retail, you tend to give off a retail vibe, so it can happen often. This happened to me a few years ago, not too long after I moved to my current neighborhood. I was working 2 jobs and just got out of one of them. I was wearing a coat from my full-time job, a very bright blue fleece, with the agency logo embroidered on the left side, zipped up, with khaki slacks, and a bright pink polo shirt. Yeah, our uniforms were a hot mess. I went to the local grocery store that at the time, the uniform was a primary blue polo, black apron or smock. It happened to be a rare evening off from my second job, same grocery store company, different location, and I was picking up a few groceries for dinner, and a celebratory snack for having the night off, aka, ice cream. I was examining the SpaghettiOs, don't judge me, when this guy comes toward me. I gave that Midwestern polite half smile as I moved my cart with big old purse sitting on top to the side and nodded for him to pass so I could examine the offerings of gourmet canned pasta, again, don't judge me. Once I moved over I turned toward the shelf, not looking at him. Him, where's the taco stuff? Me, looking up in surprise, I don't know. I think I saw an employee in the next aisle over him, looking disgusted, don't give me that. You know what you're doing. I know you stock it here. Where's the taco stuff? Me, I really don't know. I don't him, getting impatient, rolling his eyes, look, I know you're not stupid. Where's the GD, taco stuff? Me, I don't work here. Go ask an employee. Him, I don't want to ask an employee. I'm asking you. Now, where's the MF taco stuff? Frantically, I look around. I saw people at either end of the aisle, and as soon as they saw a large, 6 feet plus man screaming at me, a smaller woman, they all knocked out of there right quick. Fortunately, we were both in view of the aisle signs right above our heads. I looked up, turned around, and pointed. Me, see? Taco. Right there. On the sign. Next aisle over. Now go away and stop bothering me. Him, grinning, body language immediately switching from imposing to sleazy, see? Now was that so hard? You should try to smile more. Did you know you're cute when you're angry? He looks me up and down, puts the tip of his tongue in the corner of his mouth. You know, if I weren't married, I'd see if I could take you out for dinner. Me, recoiling inside with disgust, he laughed as he went away to wherever he came from. I'm ashamed to say that I grabbed my gourmet pasta and practically ran to the registers. I didn't get the other treats I'd planned to pick up that evening. At the time I didn't have a lot of confidence, and my ex-husband was making sure of that. We were in the process of a divorce, and he is a master at gaslighting, so this experience really threw me off. Had this happen a lot more recently, there are so many more things I could do, like point to signs, shout, make a scene, put him in his place, etc. I think this guy just saw me as an easy target and went for it, especially once he discovered his mistake. The next one is titled, You Are Giving the Bus Aide Detention? I recently started working as a school bus aide, where I helped work with special needs students so the driver could focus on driving and only intervene when necessary. Our bus barn was located across from our high school career center, and the bus drivers and aides frequently parked here before our routes, as we had no parking, too many buses, so they overflowed in the employee lot. My afternoon route started at about 3 o'clock, but I arrived at around 2:45 to inspect my bus. We had wheelchair equipment and special seatbelts that needed to be checked daily. I am wearing an orange polo, school colors, and a school mascot hat as it is School Spirit Day. As I am walking across the street to the bus barn, that's when I hear him. The principal of the technical center was telling, "Hey, stop right there." I was new, so I complied, thinking I may have parked improperly. It is only 2:45, where do you think you are going? It's only the first week. I realize that I look like a high schooler. I am in my 20s, and he thinks I am ditching class. I laugh, and reach for my work ID. Me, I'm sorry, sir, I work across the street. Here. I go to show him my badge, and I realize I left it on my bus on the morning route. Principal, well. He is getting agitated. Me, I'm sorry, I must have left it. Principal, I don't need to see your paperwork or ID. But you are coming with me, and I am writing you a detention slip. Me, no longer smiling, sir, I am not a student here. Principal, it doesn't matter, which school do you go to? The career center hosted students across the county. Me, I don't. Principal, so you are homeschooled then? Me, no, sir. I work across the street. And I am going to be late for my route soon. I take a few steps back towards the bus barn, where my driver sees me and honks, clearly annoyed that I wasn't on board. Principal, I am so sorry, I didn't recognize you. You must be a new aide. I'm Mr. Principal. We shake hands, and laugh. I ask him if I can still get the detention slip, and he just laughs. I quickly cross the street and board my bus. My driver, who is amazing, asks what was taking me so long. I am known to be talkative. It appears I now have detention for skipping class. My driver starts cracking up, and I ask her if I can stay clocked in for detention. We have a good laugh about it and run our route. When we finish dropping off the last students, she looks me dead in the eyes and says, "So should I go to the high school for your detention, or can you drive yourself?" To this day, anytime I mess with her, she threatens to give me detention. The next one is titled, Kevin Needs a Dictionary and Gets an Unexpected Smackdown. This happened a few months ago, just at the beginning of the COVID madness, and there were some legal issues involved that are now resolved. The verbal exchange is not exact, but it gives the gist of what happened, though I do remember most of the insults. TLDR at the end. Here is a little background about me. I'm a tiny, somewhat older lady, 5 feet tall and 49 years old, who looks rather unassuming. Most of my adult life, I've worked in probably every aspect of retail, from customer service to, now, owning a mid-size retail sporting goods store with a couple partners. So, I tend to give off that customer service vibe. I usually try to help people if I can, as long as they are polite. Also, I've been training in martial arts for more than 20 years and teach on the side as a way to give back to my community. My store is about a block away from a major big box retailer, rhymes with tall cart, and I often stop there because we always supply our employees with drinks and snacks to boost morale. Our management shirt, which is black and grey with a red logo embroidered over the pocket. I also have a mask that says the name of our store across it. The uniform of the store I'm in is either blue or yellow vests with big lettering on the back. On to the tale. One fine morning, on the way to my store, I stopped to pick up some soda and chips for my people and some janitorial supplies to hold me through until my next shipment arrives. It was early, so there were very few shoppers and not many employees. I'm filling my cart with soda and, because I have situational awareness, I notice a normal if somewhat pudgy guy, we'll call him Kevin, walking up the aisle toward where I've just finished loading a few cases into my cart. I thought he wanted some soda, so I moved on to the next thing on my list. I go to the next aisle and notice this guy has followed me. Inwardly, I sigh to myself as I can see from his stance and his eyes that he is not happy. Kevin tromps up to me very aggressively and says, "What the F is your problem? You just walked away from me. I need some help." Since I always try to de-escalate aggressive behavior, I put on my sweet voice and said, "I'm sorry, did you have a question about insert my store name which is written boldly across my mask?" Kevin, what? No. Where is the Diet Mountain Dew? Why the F would I want to know anything about store name, you stupid cow? Me, well, maybe because I work there and not here. I have noticed that this store has not had Diet Mountain Dew for a while. Maybe you should ask an employee if they are back ordered. Kevin, bullpoop. You work here. I see you here every week. As he says this, he advances toward me. I step back a few paces. Me, sir, please keep your distance, we are in a pandemic. Kevin, how dare you? Get me my Diet Mount Dew. Me taken aback a bit, I apologize for making assumptions, but it still doesn't change the fact I don't work here. What would you prefer to be called? Kevin, I prefer he, him, his. And don't you forget it. Anything else is hate speech. I know you have Diet Mountain Dew in the back. Now go get it or I will have you fired for being a hateful homophobe. Me, the word, sir, is a formal way of speaking to someone who identifies as he, him, his. I'm not a homophobe, my daughter is gay. Anyway, I still don't work here. I will go find you an employee. At this point, 2 mistakes were made. One by me, one by Kevin. Mistake 1. I turned my back on an aggressor who was still agitated. Looking back, the only reason I can give is I just really wanted to get back to what I was doing so I could get to my store, and I honestly did not consider him a physical threat. Mistake 2. Kevin put his grubby booger hooks on me. He grabbed my shoulder in an attempt to turn me around, I suppose. So at this point, 20 years of martial arts training kicked in and somehow Kevin ended up face down on the ground in a hammerlock with my knee shoved into his back. Using my best martial arts instructor voice, I yell, "Attention any employee. Please call 911 for the police. I have been assaulted." After a moment of shock, Kevin starts squealing. Not yelling, not crying or cussing. Squealing like a piglet. Suddenly, where there were no employees, there were at least 6 swarming us, including the manager. Since I had no idea what Kevin would do, I refused to release my hold on him until the police arrived. The local PD shows up. I recognize one as a regular customer at my store, who has also expressed interest in me teaching his kid at the dojo. He looks at me, and looks at Kevin squealing on the ground, and I can see the amusement in his eyes. I let go of the squealing piglet, I mean Kevin. That's when his tirade starts, of course. Kevin, oh my God. Officers. This is a hate crime. Arrest her. Arrest her. She threw me to the ground because I'm gay. I only wanted to get some Diet Mount Dew. She's the devil. Officer looks at him, about 6 feet 180 pounds, and then me, 5 feet 97 pounds, and just raises his eyebrows. Since no one really witnessed what happened, I asked the manager if the officers could review their security recordings. The aftermath of the whole thing was this: we were both briefly detained. The officers reviewed the tapes and asked if I wanted to press charges in front of Kevin, which I declined to do. Kevin starts whining and saying, "It's not fair, she used hate speech against me." The officer I know asked, "What did she say, sir?" And of course Kevin flips his stuff and starts accusing the officer of being homophobic, etc. They are better at de-escalating than I am and get him calm. One of the employees helpfully brought a dictionary up on their phone for poor Kevin. He reads what the word "sir" means and kind of crumples in on himself. I wish I could say it ended there. Unfortunately, Kevin finally figured out where I do work. He wrote reviews accusing all of us of homophobia. He began to call incessantly and made some threats that escalated into him coming to my store, causing some property damage, and being arrested. This time I did press charges and sued for libel, defamation. Officer signs his daughter up at my dojo.